I was troubled by my husband's lack of responsibility as a father, but I thought it was a common issue in many families. However, the situation turned out to be more serious than expected. My husband Mark enjoyed his hobbies and social life, believing he was still free to do so because their child hadn't been born yet. Eventually, he even began cheating. So I decided that it's better to not have such a father and continued with a divorce. What was the fate of the man who took his freedom too far? I have a question for everyone. How long did it take for your husbands to realize and take responsibility for being a parent after you got pregnant? Did it only happen after the child was born? I soon understood that what it means to take responsibility is subjective. Indeed, responsibility can't be quantified or visibly confirmed. My husband was the one who initially talked about wanting kids. But when I got pregnant, he didn't do anything. Even when I showed him the ultrasound photos, he responded with,
"What is this? I can't see anything. I'm not a doctor, so showing this to me is pointless, you know?"
showing no excitement or interest. Moreover, Mark was part of a local amateur baseball team and spent all day on weekends practicing or playing games. Even on weeknights, he would go out drinking with his teammates and come home late. He said he absolutely wanted kids, so I thought he'd be happier. I once asked Mark why he lost interest all of a sudden after wanting kids so badly. Mark said he heard from his teammates on the baseball team that a man becomes a father only after the child is born. However, he twisted this to mean a man has nothing to do until the child is born, so I'm free until. It was a bizarre leap of logic, akin to a conspiracy theory. This teammate he referenced was a well-known man who was famous for always prioritizing his wife and children. I couldn't understand how Mark could misinterpret his words so wildly. Despite his indifference to the baby, he would complain endlessly if I didn't come to watch his baseball games.
"Other guys have their wives or girlfriends come to cheer them on, but you never come. You're so boring."
He would frequently whine and criticize me like that. Before I got pregnant, I used to go to his games often, but after finding out my pregnancy, I couldn't help but feel attacked. Recently, Mark's younger brother, John, moved back to our town after getting married, and he joined the same baseball team. Mark now had the perfect excuse of family bonding to immerse himself further into baseball. Is family bonding really that important nowadays, especially with a sibling? By the way, Mark and I are in our late 20s. Mark works at his family's business and is expected to take over as the next CEO. I quit my job when I got pregnant, but I help out as a part-time accountant for the family business. We live in a small town where community and family ties are strong. Mark's parents live nearby too. So Mark is right in saying family connections are important. But it's no excuse for prioritizing baseball. Though, in small towns, relationships really are a lifeline, especially if you run a business or store. That's why other team members' wives and girlfriends frequently come to games. They bring cute handmade snacks, trying to support the team like cheerleaders. Mark once even said,
"Stop making lunches full of fried food and make something more Instagram-worthy,"
complaining about lunches a pregnant woman made for him. Just go to the store and buy some deli, I thought to myself. It wasn't just that. When I was bedridden with morning sickness, he'd get mad at me.
"You're home all day. At least don't be lazy when I'm around. It's disgusting to have an old hag like you around. John's wife still does her makeup before doing the housework for the day. You're older than her, so get it together. Baseball is more fun than being around you."
He constantly found reasons to put me down like that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't stop complaining about him. Yesterday, I had my routine prenatal checkup at my OBGYN, and surprisingly, Mark said he'd come with me. But on the morning of the appointment, he suddenly said,
"One of the team members got sick, so I need to go. You'll have to go to the checkup alone, sorry."
What? But you promised to come with me today.
"Shut up. We have a game with the neighboring town today. We can't afford to forfeit because of lack of players."
He left the house after a heated argument. Prioritizing baseball over my prenatal checkup really hurt me. I felt that this wasn't just about a lack of interest in the child. I realized that Mark isn't committed to our family. I need to seriously consider divorce. After a few weeks, I realized something unbelievable. It seemed like he's cheating on me. Recently, I spoke with John and casually asked about how the game with the neighboring town went. Was Mark of any use? John looked confused and said,
"Game? We haven't had any games recently.
That's when I found out there was no game at all that day. John added,
Mark hasn't been coming to practice either. Well, it's understandable since you're about to give birth. But does he help out with the housework?
My head spun. What were all those stories about baseball games he told me every week? He even insisted on washing his uniform himself, so I had no way to check if he really went to practice. I was shocked to find out he had been skipping all this time. Was his obsession with baseball just an act? What has he been doing instead? I was curious, so I did some investigating. And soon I found a receipt from a hotel in Mark's suit jacket. The date on the receipt was one of the days he claimed to have a game. It was clear evidence. So far, that receipt is all I've found. He's very good at hiding things. I didn't want to stress my pregnant self too much, but I think I need more concrete proof, so I'm thinking of checking his phone. The hotel receipt shows he went, but not who he went with. Discovering that Mark had lied about baseball practice and games, my suspicion of his actions grew, so I decided to gather more evidence. A month later, I had finalized my divorce and safely given birth. This is what happened. After finding the hotel receipt, I checked Mark's phone and found undeniable proof of his infidelity. I prepared for divorce and then got admitted to the hospital the day before my due date. That morning, I told Mark, I'm being admitted to the hospital today. I know you're busy, but please come to see me before heading to work. However, he seemed uninterested, replying,
Yeah, I know, I'll come if I can.
Even after arriving at the hospital, I left a voicemail and sent a message reminding him to keep in touch with me. Despite this, Mark neither visited nor contacted me. The C-section date was pre-scheduled and I had informed Mark of all the details. Yet he ignored his anxious pregnant wife and didn't show up. Any lingering hope I had in him vanished. I had no idea what he was thinking. At this point, it was clear I should just leave him. If he had come to the hospital, maybe there would have been a chance for reconciliation. But as I listened to the doctor explain the C-section procedure, I realized I was done with Mark. The doctor even commented on how prepared I seemed, not knowing I was mentally prepared on my divorce. Around that time, my plan to make Mark face the consequences was coming together, pushing him towards his downfall. After the doctor's explanation, I checked my phone and saw numerous missed calls from Mark. He had left a voicemail, frantically yelling,
Pick up the phone. What is this? Is this your doing?
When I finished listening, he called again, so I answered. Hey, I'm giving birth tomorrow. Are you coming? Ignoring my question, Mark hastily said,
What is all this? Explain this to me.
What do you mean?
Stop playing dumb. Why is everyone here at our vacation? Did you set this up?
I felt satisfaction knowing my plan was working. Here you may think, why is Mark talking about a vacation? Isn't he supposed to be with you for the birth? Exactly. Until the call, I had doubts. Not only did he skip the birth, but he'd planned a vacation with another woman. That's why I decided to play dumb. Vacation? Why are you on vacation? I'm giving birth tomorrow. Realizing he slipped up, Mark tried to cover his tracks.
No, actually, it's not a vacation.
It's not a vacation. Then what is it?
It's a business trip. I forgot to tell you because I was so sudden and I was in a rush.
His poor attempt to lie was interrupted by John's voice in the background. I hear a woman quietly sobbing as well.
Mark, you go on a business trip with a woman who isn't even an employee? Gross, man.
Mark's father, who also heard, added,
I didn't authorize any trip to Miami.
Mark fell silent. Those who were there demanded an explanation, shouting over each other. For Mark, it must have been a moment of hell. Why was Mark in Miami? Why were his parents and brother there? How did they find out about the trip? Well, I will explain. While searching for evidence of Mark's affair, I discovered incriminating messages on his phone. So I took screenshots and sent them to myself. He had the courage to not even lock his phone or take it with him to the bathroom. And in those messages, Mark planned a vacation with his affair partner during my hospital stay. When I saw it, I couldn't believe my eyes. Let's go on a vacation. It won't be a problem if you just say it's a business trip, right?
Sounds good. I'd love to go. How about these dates?
Wait, but isn't that the due date?
Oh, was it? Doesn't matter.
I have reminded him of the date multiple times and even wrote it on the calendar. It broke my heart to see him forget. What a terrible father.
I won't be useful in the delivery room anyway. If anyone asks, I'll say I'm preparing to be a father by charging up some energy before life gets all hectic.
So just like that, they planned the Miami trip for my due date. They planned every detail from flights to hotels, so I knew exactly where they'd be. Though I wanted to, I couldn't confront him myself, so I sent his family and my family in my place. At first, all of them were skeptical about the affair, but Mark's father suggested following them to find the truth. Mark and his affair partner planned their vacation unaware his family was tailing them. What did my skeptical parents-in-law see at their destination? According to John, Mark was in an unbelievably high-spirited mood during the trip. He was constantly touching the woman and blocking pathways while being overly affectionate. At a restaurant, he even approached random tourists, saying,
"You like the American food? Thanks, man."
Looking up at the Ferris wheel, he declared,
"I'd jump off this for you,"
and hugged his affair partner from the back. "Aw, aren't you brave?" the woman said while hugging him back. Mark has always been a bit of a show-off, but this was embarrassing to hear. When John told me all this, I was relieved I hadn't gone. They also acted inappropriately, like fondling with a woman's body in front of school groups, causing trouble for everyone around them. Mark used to be sensible, but cheating turned him into a different person. I think he was trying to impress his affair partner, showing off as an alpha male. In other words, he was acting high. Mark's behavior went too far, finally angering his parents. His mother canceled their hotel reservation.
"Hello, I'm calling for Mark Taterson. I need to cancel his reservation for tonight because he's feeling unwell."
"Are you sure? There is going to be a cancellation fee."
"I'll pay the fee in full, so please cancel."
She calmly canceled, but her eyes were filled with rage. She even called ahead to ensure they wouldn't be let in.
"A young couple might try to check in under our names, but please don't let them stay. They're famous in the neighborhood for being a nuisance, and it won't do any good for your business."
Bravo to Mark's mother. So when it was time to check in, the clueless couple was shocked to find their reservation canceled. The receptionist was prepared.
"Why is our reservation canceled? I'm the one who booked the hotel."
"I'm sorry, but I'll have to have you provide proof of your reservation, like your reservation number or confirmation email."
"I don't have it with me. The confirmation email is on my work computer."
"Well then, I'm sorry, but I can't do anything about it." The receptionist replied, thinking they were frauds. They were being such a hassle at the reception counter. At this point, they couldn't inconvenience the hotel further, so his father confronted Mark.
"Mark, what are you doing here? Your wife is in the hospital giving birth right now,"
he shouted.
"Dad, what? Why is everybody here?"
"Oh no! Why?" Mark and his affair partner obviously panicked when seeing his family and my family at the scene. The couple tried to flee, but John restrained them and dragged them to a nearby diner for a talk. In one of the diner's booth seats, Mark and his affair partner were cornered. "What is this? Were you trying to set me up?" the affair partner snapped. "John, did his wife put you up to this? Are you the one cheating with her?" she accused John. Why is she attacking John? Do they know each other? "Don't treat me like I'm one of you idiots." John exploded, unlike himself. As you may have guessed, the affair partner was John's wife. Their parents were enraged, not just at Mark, but also at her for betraying John. Mark first met John's wife when she came to cheer John on at one of their baseball games, and they soon began an affair. "Don't be so angry. You were so busy with work and I was lonely," she defended herself. But that did not work, as she earned a slap from Mark's father. I had invited her parents to witness her betrayal firsthand as well. So the vacation group included Mark's family, my family, and John's wife's parents. John and his wife moved here from New York to live with her parents, so I knew her parents as well. So that's why I was able to invite them on the trip.
"You're destroying a family with your actions, you foolish girl,"
her father scolded her.
"And you, Mark, how could you do this? Apologize to my daughter." "Mark, I never imagined you could be so low."
Surrounded and attacked from all sides, Mark finally realized he had been set up. That's when he frantically called me. That's about everything that was going on up until the missed calls and voicemails. I then called Mark back.
"Explain the situation."
Everything is your fault. You're reaping what you sowed. It's karma. Silence. I then make a video call to look him in the eye. I gave my mom the divorce papers. Signed them. We're done. And I told my mom to hand over the papers.
Sorry, but my daughter won't change her mind. Even if she did, we wouldn't support reconciliation, though. I'll never forgive your betrayal,
my mom added.
Wait, please. This was just a fling. I was going to end it with this, right?
Clinging to any hope, possibly trying to get out of divorce or paying alimony, Mark tried to get his affair partner to agree. Yeah, it was just a fling. John is my true love. I don't want a divorce, so please give me one last chance. I'll stay with you and only you from now on, she pleaded.
Don't be ridiculous. Infidelity is betrayal. You can't regain trust once it's lost. No more chances for you,
her parents said firmly. John had no intention of forgiving her either.
Who would trust a cheating wife? Huh, we're done,
he stated coldly. Trust is crucial, especially among family. And so, at the diner, the two were handed divorce papers since John had brought his as well. They signed them, officially ending our marriages. The next day, I had my C-section and safely delivered my baby. Surrounded by family who had returned, I was happy. I had already forgotten about Mark, left in Miami. Of course, I still demanded alimony and child support afterwards. The affair partner was brought home by her parents to get rid of the possibility of them trying to declare remarriage with each other. So, Mark returned from Miami alone. He was immediately fired from his job, losing his position as the future CEO. In our small town, word of their affair spread quickly, forcing him to move away in shame. The affair partner, or John's ex-wife, also moved to a different city with her parents as well. I was glad to be surrounded by a supportive family and relatives who helped me through my ordeal. Meanwhile, Mark, who lacked any sense of responsibility as a husband or father, was abandoned by everyone. He now faces a lonely future.
My husband. Housewives are freeloaders. He tried to sell my family's house for his mistress. When I revealed the truth, she was stunned.
Don't act so high and mighty when you're just a stay-at-home wife leeching off my money. My husband's words hit me like a dagger. We promised to support each other through everything and love each other forever when we got married. Why did I have to hear such a knife-like words now? But at that moment, I didn't feel sadness, only a simmering anger and desire for revenge. My name is Susie. I'm 35 years old, and I'm an ordinary housewife who loves to cook. People often say things like, "It must be nice and easy," or "You probably don't have any struggles." But honestly, I want to work outside the home. I graduated from a vocational school and worked as a pastry chef. I was thrilled to land my dream job, making pastries every day. Even after getting married, I kept working. My husband and in-laws believed that a woman should settle at home after marriage, and they couldn't fathom why I'd want to work. However, living on my husband's income alone was precarious. Thinking about future children, quitting my job posed a huge risk. So, I kept working and took care of the house without burdening my husband. But everything changed in the 4th year of our marriage. I noticed something was off with my health and went to the doctor. I was immediately referred to a bigger hospital where I was told I had breast cancer and needed surgery right away. I was barely 30 at the time. I couldn't wrap my head around having cancer or losing an important part of my body. Why me? But before I could fully process it, I underwent surgery. When I woke up, my husband was looking at me worriedly. "Hey, are you okay? Everything went well. Seeing his relieved face made me burst into tears. Even though I'd lost my breast, I had him. I didn't need to worry anymore because he gave me hope. After that, my health wasn't great, and I reluctantly decided to quit my job. "You can go back to work when you feel better. For now, just rest," he said, and I allowed myself to rely on him. 5 years passed without a recurrence, and although my health wasn't perfect, it was improving. I considered returning to work and looked for a part-time job at a nearby pastry shop. However, my husband flatly rejected it, saying, "You should just stay home and take care of the house." Even now, we barely scrape by on his income alone. I cover any shortfalls with my savings, but it's still precarious. I wanted to help ease the financial burden, but my husband stubbornly refused. "Your part-time wages are only a few $100s. What difference will that make?" He made it sound like it's nothing, but that small amount could significantly change our lives. Despite my explanations, he never allowed me to work. I actually considered secretly getting a job. But he had been so kind and supportive when I was ill, I couldn't deceive him. Lately, my husband has been coming home late, often drunk from business dinners. He frequently works weekends, leaving early and returning after 10 p.m. If I went to work, who would take care of the house? I had to support him as he'd supported me. That's what I thought as I saw him slip into bed after returning home. One day, while cleaning, I received a rare call from my uncle. "What's up? I haven't heard from you in ages." "Can we meet this week?" "Sure." My parents are gone, and my uncle, my father's brother, is like a second father to me. His worried tone concerned me, but I went to his house as he asked. "Hey, Uncle Tom, you look well." "So, what's going on?" "Well, let's talk inside." His face clouded with concern. I couldn't tell what was going on. I nervously sat on the living room sofa. He then pulled out some photos from an envelope. "I took these at a bar near my office." I almost looked away in shock. "No way!" The photos showed my husband with a woman at least 10 years younger, cozying up at a bar. "What is this?" "The bartender said they come here 2 or 3 times a week." No. I couldn't believe my husband was cheating. I was stunned, not being able to accept the truth unfolding in front of me. "Has he been acting strange lately?" "Well, he's been coming home late, but I thought it was work." "Well, I guess he's using work as an excuse to be with her. That's unforgivable." My uncle's face turned angry. "And he mentioned something weird." "Weird?" "Yeah, he said, 'I'm buying you a condo soon. Just wait.'" "A condo? We're barely making ends meet. We don't have that much money." My uncle continued to share more overheard conversations. "So, what do you want to do about this, Susie?" I didn't know. My head was a mess. "Sorry, I need more time to think." He then sighed quietly and said, "Of course, I understand. Take your time. But just remember this. I'm always on your side." His words comforted me a bit, but I was still troubled. That night, my husband came home late and drunk again. I couldn't confront him and watched as he went straight to bed after a shower. What was he thinking? Why didn't he ask for a divorce? We hadn't had a real conversation in months. I cried in the living room, unable to stop the tears. 2 weeks passed without confronting him. One weekend, he didn't have to work. I guess he's not seeing his lover today? I felt relieved, but at the same time uneasy being with him. He seemed nervous. I didn't have the courage to speak, so I continued my chores. While changing the sheets in the bedroom, I found him rummaging through the dresser. What are you doing? He looked startled.
Nothing, just cleaning up.
But he was in my drawer. Why are you cleaning there?
We're married. Your dresser is mine too.
Wait, that's the deed to my family home. What are you doing with it?
I'm just looking. Stop turning it into a big deal.
I felt suspicious. What was he up to? I decided to confront him with the fair evidence. You want to tell me what this is about? He looked startled, but quickly composed himself.
Oh, so you know. Yeah, that's what it is.
You're despicable. I misjudged you.
Yeah, whatever. I considered us over long ago.
Don't act high and mighty when you're just a stay-at-home wife leeching off my money. His words pierced like a knife.
This is actually perfect timing. I want to remarry. Divorce me.
He said so without any remorse. I was left stunned. How could I have been so blind? But staying silent meant he would win. I made up my mind.
Fine. Bring your girlfriend here. Let's all talk together.
And so the next day, we met. His mistress was much younger than me. As soon as she sat on the sofa in the living room, she immediately complained. Why do I have to be here? This royally sucks. Ugh, that tone.
So sorry, babe. Once this is over, we can be happy together.
My husband said, cuddling with her. It was just nauseating. So, tell me, when did you start seeing my husband?
Yikes, old lady! You're too scary! I don't remember.
She laughed. She was impossible. Ignoring my anger, she continued.
So, when are you getting divorced? He promised me a fancy condo. Hurry up!
Do you know your place?
Oh my gosh, there's your scary face again!
Was she mocking me? How much did your family home sell for? About $1 million?
Excuse me? We need about $600,000 for a condo, so I was hoping it'd sell for around $1 million.
At that moment, I understood what my uncle had told me. My husband was nervously trying to get his mistress to shut up. But instead of keeping quiet, she became even more talkative.
I really found myself a great guy. Too bad for you, old lady. Getting dumped and all.
She laughed at me, a high mocking laugh that echoed through the house, making me feel utterly disgusted.
I can't wait to move in. So, how much did you sell the house for?
This woman knew nothing. I sighed and explained to her. There's no plan to sell the house, you know.
Huh?
Her eyes widened. What exactly did my husband tell you?
Well, he said your house was sold and we'd get the money soon.
That's a lie.
A lie?
Her face twisted in anger.
What do you mean it's a lie?
Well, that house is not for sale. And besides, my uncle owns the house. My husband, silent until now, spoke up.
Really? But you had the deed.
When he was rummaging through my dresser the other day, he was indeed looking for the house deed.
You mean this?
I showed him the deed that was in my dresser.
Yeah, this one, but wait.
What he had found that day was a fake one I had stored away. It was more like a sample deed. On that day I saw my uncle, he had warned me about my husband's plan to sell the house. Discussing it loudly in a bar was so idiotic of my husband. But I guess it was thanks to his dumbness that I was able to switch the deed to a fake one. The house was inherited by my uncle as per my father's will. My husband had misunderstood. big time. You see, before my father's death, it was decided my uncle would inherit the house. My father must have thought it was inconvenient for me to inherit the house after getting married. So he left me cash, and my uncle managed the house. My father and uncle had lost their parents at a young age and had always supported each other. He probably wanted to leave something for his brother, not just me. I never resented it, and my uncle took good care of the house. My husband knew nothing about the inheritance as my father had passed away before we got married. And yet, he tried to sell my family home without permission. His greed was shocking. Then the mistress suddenly yelled, "Unbelievable! What about our condo?" Calm down, babe, all right? My husband tried to soothe her, but she continued. "Shut up! No condo, no marriage. You're worthless." She was furious. Wait a minute. You only wanted my money? Well, duh. What? I recorded their stupid argument and then got to the point. Now, let's discuss divorce and alimony, shall we? Alimony? They were confused. Yeah, you're both liable for damages. You cheated on me, your wife, and you went along even though you knew he was married. I calmly stated the facts. Whoa, hold on, lady. Why should I pay? Your husband lied to me. She was defiant, and my husband looked pale and stunned. You can refuse, but I'll take it to court. Try me. She was still defiant, but my husband knew better. Stop, babe. I'm sorry, Susie. Please don't divorce me. Even he knew that my grandfather was a lawyer, so he must have realized he had no chance. It's too late. My lawyer will contact you. And just like that, I ended it with my husband. We then got divorced. There was a property division procedure, but our shared assets were minimal, and my husband got almost nothing. All living expenses during the 5 years I was a housewife had come from my savings, and we had no joint savings at all. I demanded alimony from both my ex-husband and his mistress. He begged to pay in installments, but I refused. I threatened to garnish his wages if he didn't pay in full, and the following week, the full amount was deposited. The mistress, unable to pay, pleaded with me. After I sent her a formal demand through my lawyer, she came to apologize with her parents. All three looked incredibly apologetic. It turned out that the mistress, whom I thought was 23, was actually a 20-year-old college student. She had planned to have my ex-husband buy her a condo after graduation and live a carefree life. With her plans ruined, she had no idea what to do next and broke down in tears. I felt so sorry for her parents, who were desperately apologizing for their daughter's mistakes. She later dropped out of college, was disowned by her parents, and disappeared. Now, I have found a job and I'm living a quiet life, working at my own pace considering my health. There's no recurrence of my cancer, but I limit my working hours to take care of myself. Interacting with people brings me joy and a sense of purpose. After the divorce, my ex-husband contacted me several times. Let's start over. I need you. Give me another chance. But I ignored his empty apologies. I couldn't trust the foolish man who called housewives leeches and chased after a younger woman. I talked to my lawyer and obtained a restraining order. The police would handle any issues if they arose. My uncle still worries about me and visits occasionally. How's your health, Susie? I'm fine, thanks. By the way, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Oh no. I chuckled. I'm not really ready for relationships, but if he insists, maybe I'll meet this person one day. Little by little, I'm moving forward, and I will continue to do so.
After giving birth, my husband's ex-girlfriend shows up and insults our baby as ugly. What follows is a shocking tale.
I moved to my husband's hometown and we finally had our long-awaited child. I dreamed of a happy life with my new family, but that dream never came true because my husband started making unreasonable demands of me. Moreover, the presence of my husband's ex, Rebecca, tormented me. During all this, I gave birth to our daughter. The next day, while I was still exhausted from childbirth, unbelievably, my husband showed up with his ex-girlfriend. The ex-girlfriend laughed and called my beloved daughter ugly. Immediately after, someone else appeared. I'm a mom with a daughter, and I need to share the crazy story about my husband. His behavior and comments during my pregnancy were so awful that I doubted he even had a heart. My husband, however, angrily shouted at me, saying,
"You're the one who's crazy."
"If you don't mind, I'd love to hear everyone's opinions." I'm an office worker in my 30s. I've been married to my husband, Jack, for 3 years. My husband moved to my hometown for work a few years ago, and that's where we met and got married. After the wedding, my husband had to return to his hometown for work, so I moved there with him. While my in-laws never visited without notice, my mother-in-law is quite a strong-willed person. "Since both of you are working, why not stop renting and just build a house? When you have children in the future, this place will feel cramped. Hey, Erica, don't you think so too?" Well, I was always overwhelmed by my mother-in-law's non-stop talking and often just gave a strained smile in response to her questions. But since she didn't delve into the topic of children too much, I found her hard to deal with, but didn't actually dislike her. I was considering starting a family, so I decided to work shorter hours at my new job. There, I met a woman.
"I'm Rebecca. Nice to meet you. By the way, when I heard your last name, I thought, is your husband's name happen to be Jack?"
When I answered that it was, she exclaimed,
"Wow, what a coincidence. I'm friends with Jack. I heard he had left town, but I didn't know he came back."
At that time, before I knew Rebecca was my husband's ex-girlfriend, I simply thought, what a small world. That day, when I talked to my husband about Rebecca,
"Oh, really? So she's still around. She's loud, isn't she, huh?"
my husband said, reminiscing about Rebecca. After that, we conceived our child after months of trying to get pregnant. My eager husband immediately informed his parents, who were very pleased. Then discussions about having a house intensified as my pregnancy progressed. By the time I returned to my hometown and finished giving birth, our house construction was scheduled to be completed.
"I'm looking forward to raising our child in our new home."
My husband was excited too, but around this time I started to feel dissatisfied with his actions.
"I've been invited out for drinks again, so I'm going."
He started participating frequently in drinking outings. My husband's friends were mostly single, and there were many times when they would drink together late into the night, often coming home in the early hours. Hey, I'm not telling you not to go drinking, but you're about to become a father soon, you know. It's scary being alone, and I'd like you to cut back on how often you go out, or at least come home earlier. What do you think my husband said when I asked him that?
"You're being too controlling, don't you think? I'm not out partying until the morning, so please let me go out with my friends."
He sighed, sounding tired. At this point, a guy who says things like this will definitely keep going out even after the childbirth. It's not about control. Whose child is in your belly? It's your child, right? It relieves me to hear that. My husband has clearly become more careless with how he treats me, and what's more...
"Hey, Erica, are you keeping track of our finances?"
What's this all of a sudden? I am, but... Until now, I handled the finances, but he started getting involved in money matters and giving opinions about everything.
"We're starting the mortgage soon, so we need to save wherever we can,"
he said. He began checking receipts closely.
"Erica, change your shopping time. There are more discounted items before closing times."
He says selfish things like that.
"There's no need to use a particular facial toner." "That's right, from now on use the dollar store toner."
When he said that, I got angry. Since I have sensitive skin, I've tried various things, and the current toner works best for me. Besides, you keep talking about cutting back, but why don't you reduce your drinking? I think that's the best way to save money. He hesitated at my words.
"Am I not even allowed to take a break? Actually, I was thinking, Erica, since you're managing work so well and able to go in, why not work full-time until you go on maternity leave? since you won't be working for a while after this.
Even though I've told him our savings are solid as they are now, he's still saying I need to work harder. He's asking me to work even harder now, despite my belly getting bigger and the physical strain increasing. Is he the devil or something? Moreover, he's not even trying to save on his own drinking expenses. Well, is he saving money just to ensure he has enough for drinks? I couldn't think of anything else, so I just ignored all of my husband's incomprehensible saving tactics. At home, the days without peace continued, and I thought I should at least try to find some solace elsewhere, but even that didn't happen.
Hey, don't you see that we're running low on copy paper? Since you're a newcomer, take the initiative and do something about it. And when the shredder gets full, empty it. That's just common sense.
Before I knew it, Rebecca started criticizing me more often at work. If only it were just about work.
Jack says that at every drinking party, since his wife got pregnant, he seems to notice only the unpleasant things. You use expensive skincare products yourself, yet you told Jack to cut down on drinking expenses, didn't you? But you know, your skin isn't particularly flawless, is it?
Rebecca looked at me and giggled. During pregnancy, many people experience skin issues due to hormonal changes. I was taken aback by Rebecca laughing at people's faces, and it was the first time I realized Rebecca was participating in the drinking parties.
Jack has a delicate side, so please be gentle with him. Even back when we were dating— Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say that. What should I do? Let's pretend I didn't say that just now.
With a smug smile, Rebecca glanced at me and then calmly returned to her seat as if nothing had happened. My husband, who wants to go to drinking parties with Rebecca, who inexplicably views me as an enemy. It felt somehow like dots connecting into lines. When I returned home, thinking I would talk to my husband, I received a message from local relatives. My mother had been in a traffic accident and would be hospitalized for a few days. Actually, when I was in elementary school, my father passed away from an illness, so my mother raised me on her own. She seems conscious and asked relatives to keep it a secret from me because she's worried. Of course, I couldn't stand still. I consulted with my husband that I wanted to go see how my mother was doing.
If she's conscious, then do you really need to go? Leave your mother-in-law's care to the relatives. Since it costs money for trips back home, it's wasteful to go back so many times.
He said that. My husband's worry wasn't about mine or my mother's health, but about money. The next day, without telling my husband, who went to work early, I left a note at home and left for my parents' house. I explained the situation to my company, and they allowed me to take leave earlier than planned and returned to my hometown. Strangely enough, my husband, who was supposed to know nothing, called me immediately.
What the hell are you doing? Don't just spend our money without permission. You just took leave from work just like that. Aren't you being naive? And what about my meals while you're not here?
He must have found out Rebecca, I'm sure. Thinking that made me sick with anger towards my husband. Don't worry, I paid from my own savings. My colleagues were kind, they're excited about the baby. But compared to that, are you worried about money and your own meals? If that's the case, why don't you just run to the discount supermarket?
What's with that attitude? Apologize to me.
Seriously, sneaking around and contacting your ex? It's disgusting. And I retorted to my husband. As soon as I mentioned his ex-girlfriend Rebecca's name, he hung up immediately. Let's slap a discount sticker on this guy and see if we can sell him off. No, is it more like junk removal? The person who takes him would practically be doing charity work. If it were me, I wouldn't take him even if he were free. I don't need a husband like this. My mother didn't have any health issues and was discharged safely. After returning home for a while, I gave birth to my daughter. My husband must have been really angry with me. I contacted him when labor pains started and after giving birth, but he didn't even bother to reply. I told my mother I wanted a divorce and to return home.
My dear, I've been lonely living alone. I'm looking forward to living with my daughter and grandchild.
Her words comforted me. But the day after giving birth, something unbelievable happened. My husband, who had been unreachable, suddenly appeared in the hospital room, and next to him was Rebecca with a triumphant look on her face.
Erica, I need to talk to you. Let's break up. I think you've already realized, but I love Rebecca. Oh, trying to claim compensation would be pointless, you know. Until we got married, we had a platonic relationship. I don't hold Jack back like you do, and I can support Jack with my big heart. Jack also loves me for being like that after all.
I see. Understood. Our house will be ready soon, but what are your plans?
Of course, Rebecca and I will manage. You work part-time and we can still cover our expenses, and having Rebecca who works full-time would make our incomes more stable. I want to go on a trip every year for our anniversary, but still, poor little girl, she's so ugly, just like her mommy. Aw, this must be disappointing for all the relatives.
It was my fault for letting my guard down, but Rebecca picked up my daughter without asking and said incredibly rude things to her. I couldn't believe my husband would say such a thing to his own daughter. I was tired after childbirth, lack of sleep, anger, and a mixture of emotions. Don't touch my daughter with your dirty hands, I shouted loudly. At that moment, the hospital room door opened. Who do you mean by all the relatives? Say it out loud. It's your empty head that disappoints me. With her face turning bright red, my mother-in-law appeared. Next to her was my mother.
Huh? Why is Mom here? I haven't even informed her that our child was born.
Jack's face turned pale at the sight of his mother's appearance. Who are you, dear? Your face seems similar. My mother-in-law was glaring at Rebecca, but it seems like they weren't meeting for the first time. Rebecca seemed pleased that she remembered her, saying, My name is Rebecca and I used to date Jack. I'm going to marry Jack. Please take care of me from now on, Mom. She greeted them with a smile, but it quickly turned strained. What? Jack, are you still seeing this woman? She enters people's homes without greeting anyone, doesn't arrange her shoes, and even opens the fridge without permission when she's thirsty. My mother-in-law had hated Rebecca for her rude behavior since she and Jack had an on and off relationship during their school days. Oh, come on. I was just a kid back then. Anyway, look at this. We were just talking about how it's a shame the baby doesn't look anything like Jack. Rebecca was desperately trying to change the subject. My mother-in-law took one look at my daughter, who had been taken back by my mother, and said, They say daughters look like their fathers and sons look like their mothers. She looks just like Jack did when he was born. You can see it, right? Jack looks just like me. So what do you mean? Are you trying to tell me I'm ugly? Huh? No, I didn't mean it like that. Rebecca was completely intimidated by the forcefulness of my mother-in-law. Rebecca was hated by my mother-in-law since before marriage. A person who barges in unannounced the day after giving birth can't be a reasonable person. I found out later that on that day, my mother-in-law arrived a bit earlier than my husband and Rebecca. She apparently had a chat with my mother at a cafe near the maternity clinic. I'm sorry, Erica. My idiot son. He's truly an irredeemable idiot. I heard my mother-in-law was crying. I wonder if things would have been different if I hadn't unfairly held negative feelings towards my mother-in-law and had consulted with her earlier. But you know, people's true nature don't change easily. I think we would have ended up in the same situation. After that, my husband and Rebecca were forcibly sent away by my mother-in-law. After I was discharged from the hospital, I returned to my parents' home and struggled with childcare. Regarding the division of assets, I'll buy the house and the car. In return, I'll give you cash, Erica. It was unclear which standpoint he was speaking from, but my husband was completely unapologetic about it. Now, I have a condition as well. My husband wanted to remarry Rebecca immediately. Agreeing to certain conditions of mine, a divorce was subsequently granted. By the way, the condition is that the child support be paid in a lump sum. There is no way I can afford such a large sum of money. He started getting angry, but I expected that. If you can't do it, I said, then I'll prepare a legal document. If child support payments are delayed, I'll proceed with wage garnishment. Jack frowned momentarily at those conditions, but his mind was probably already full of thoughts about his new married life with Rebecca in their new home. But you know, reality isn't so sweet, is it? A few months after the divorce, my ex-husband Jack called me. Erica, I'm glad you answered. Please, help me. And I had nothing but disgust in my heart when I heard Jack's voice, which sounded as if he was about to cry. Since the mortgage on the house started, life has been tough. Or rather, Rebecca's salary is unexpectedly low.
Less than what you earn working part-time. What's wrong with that company?
And to Jack, who is going crazy, I said, even though she's an ex-girlfriend, she's the kind of person who would destroy someone's home with impunity. Do you think someone without such morals can be good at their job?
Well, but...
As Jack murmured, I interjected. And yet you'll still have to pay compensation to me.
Huh? Compensation for what? Now, of all times, what is this compensation for?
Contrary to my brightly spoken words, Jack's voice became so faint it seemed like it might disappear. Was it a platonic relationship? I mused aloud. Since proving adultery would be difficult, I will claim compensation for emotional distress due to the outrageous remarks and actions during my pregnancy and postpartum. To both you and Rebecca, you know.
This is really troublesome. I've been cut off by my parents and even estranged from relatives, with no one to rely on.
You chose another woman over your wife and child. You should realize how terrible that is. Did you seriously think you could delay a happy life? Isn't that a bit naive? Jack couldn't retort to my words and just sobbed miserably on the phone. And don't forget to pay child support, of course. It's your only duty as a father. If you fall behind, you understand what happens, right?
I agreed to the divorce, but things are different now.
That has nothing to do with me. Please communicate through my lawyer from now on. Jack on the phone sounded frantic and was still saying something, but I ignored it and hung up. Later, the lawyer contacted me, saying Jack would pay compensation in monthly installments of $200. He said that Jack and his wife had contacted him. Of course, I declined and suggested, why not sell the car? You can count on me to not condone any of this. If it's compensation for 2 people, selling the car might just be enough. By the way, Jack's hometown has limited public transportation, so it's quite inconvenient without a car. Later, I received a call from the lawyer saying that Jack and his wife wanted to talk to me directly. I agreed to meet them under the condition that the lawyer would accompany us. We decided to meet at a cafe in my hometown. There was no need for me to go to Jack's hometown. Contrary to Jack's exhausted face, Rebecca immediately glared at me as soon as we met.
I intend to claim compensation from you too.
Huh? I didn't expect her to say that, so I stupidly blurted out.
You know, you really lack awareness as a responsible adult. Do you realize the trouble you've caused at work by suddenly going on vacation? I'll have you pay for that inconvenience.
Rebecca looked at me with a smirk, as if she wanted to say, if you don't like it, I might drop the compensation claim. I'm sorry. I'm not sure where to begin, but why did you come all the way here today just to say something like that? I'm really surprised. Erica, don't encourage stupidity. Who's going to defend this guy? It's ridiculous enough to say you won't pay compensation. I never meant to provoke her, but Rebecca's face turned bright red.
Seriously, suing a senior colleague at work? What's that about? After I've given you so much guidance at work, are you planning to repay me with ingratitude?
What do you mean by guidance at work? Like going to fill in for someone or peeking at the machine every time the shredder is used? I hate to ask, but am I misunderstanding something here? I thought to myself. Tell me it's not true, but apparently it was just a figure of speech, and Rebecca shut up. By the way, Rebecca was pretending to be my senior, but she started working there only a few months before me. Rebecca seemed to know nothing, so I informed her of a certain fact. Actually, if anyone's claiming to be a senior, it would be me. I've been working here since graduating from university, so this year marks my 10th year. By the way, the director, who is your immediate supervisor, was my senior back when he worked at the headquarters.
Huh?
Seeing Rebecca's surprised expression, I almost burst out laughing. I had assumed she already knew, but apparently Rebecca didn't know until that moment. Rebecca seemed quite out of place in the workplace, and tasks assigned to her took 3 times longer than others. Moreover, she reportedly took sudden leaves when she realized she couldn't meet deadlines due to frequent mistakes. Rebecca looked down on me for working part-time, but it was a decision made after discussing pregnancy issues with HR when I relocated, and I ended up taking early leave, but I had already completed the handover. Moreover, the tasks I handed over to Rebecca amounted to nothing, and the new employee who joined this year proved to be much more capable. When Jack heard about this,
Hey, the story is completely different. You're the one who went to me saying that your future would be safer if you married someone like me with a full-time job, right? Even today, when I said I have work, you told me to leave it to you, so what are you trying to do now? If you're going to get mad like that, then stop it. I've always hated that about you. Why didn't you tell me something so important like this woman moving from the head office?
Both of them started yelling at each other, and I could only chuckle in disbelief along with the lawyer. Rebecca might have had her reasons, but considering my years of service, Jack should understand as well. Does cheating make you incapable of making normal decisions? Even if you say you're full-time, you're a contract employee, right? The manager doesn't intend to renew... Huh? Oh, sorry. Please pretend you didn't hear that just now. Well then, I'll head home since my mother is looking after my daughter. Goodbye forever. While I said goodbye with a smile on my face, Jack and Rebecca were at a loss. What the heck did they come here for, paying such high transportation costs? Just to make fools of themselves, huh? You really can't get away with doing bad things, can you? So what happened to them afterward? As for the alimony, it was transferred to me in a lump sum at a later date. Apparently they really sold the car and begged Rebecca's parents for the shortfall. Rebecca's parents apparently didn't know about her affair, so they agreed to cover her on the condition that she repay the money. Regarding Rebecca's job, her contract was not renewed and reached its expiration as per her manager's words. Rumors were circulating about my husband aiding her, making things quite tense until her last day of work. Even on the day of her leaving the company, it seems she quietly left without saying a word to anyone. The house and car were indeed valuable assets. Assets are everything, was Jack's catchphrase, but now he must be struggling with the mortgage on that house. Jack didn't have a particularly high income either. I wonder if Rebecca was drawn back to Jack because he was building a new house himself. My income supported our livelihood, but I'm sure even the financial planner was surprised by our life plan. But we are now divorced strangers, so it doesn't concern me anymore. As for me, I was to return to work at the head office after my maternity leave. It's been a tough pregnancy, but there have been some good things. Actually, I've been keeping in touch with my in-laws, especially my mother-in-law. We got along better after the divorce. My daughter, who used to look like Jack, now looks a lot like me, she says. There may be difficult times ahead, but I want to enjoy spending time with my parents and child happily. This concludes my story. Thank you very much for listening up to this point. When Jack and Rebecca kept breaking up, it was clear they couldn't make a stable home. They must have lost sight of their surroundings. They're truly foolish. I hope Erica finds happiness with her mother and daughter. Unlike Erica, who was pregnant and growing as a mother, Jack was busy playing love games with his ex-girlfriend. Stupid people aren't good as husbands or fathers. Erica started a new life. Please wish Erica a bright and joyful life and future. There's no need to be kind to someone who gave up a future with their own child. A husband who disregards a wife who is desperately raising his child deserves to be discarded.
My husband, on a solo assignment, moved in with his pregnant GF. He denied it and demanded alimony, so I moved next door with her husband.
Love will see us through, even when we're apart. That's what I wanted to believe about my husband and me, but I was betrayed. When I found out about my husband's affair, I asked for a divorce, but he turned hostile. Instead of denying the affair, he claimed emotional distress and demanded alimony. Absolutely unforgivable. My name is Cassie, a 28-year-old housewife. My husband Daniel is the same age, and we've been married for 4 years. Just when we thought about having kids after 2 years of marriage, Daniel got transferred for work. It was a 5-year assignment, and he decided to go with a guaranteed promotion upon his return. We didn't have kids, so I could have gone with him, but I didn't want to quit my job. I'll be back in 5 years, so I think it's okay to live apart, he said. So we decided to live separately. By the time he returned, we'd be in our 30s, and having kids might be tough. But considering how common late pregnancies are these days, I decided to gather information and prepare for when he'd come back. I saw it as a long preparation period and sent him off with a positive outlook. It would have been easier if the distance was manageable, but over 2 hours by plane was tough. Seeing him every week wasn't possible, so I visited him once a month. We could see each other's faces on the phone and on our computers, so the loneliness wasn't that bad. 2 years passed smoothly. But just when I thought 3 more years to go, I noticed a change in Daniel. Or rather, his apartment changed each time I visited. The curtains had changed to a cute floral pattern, which shocked me. This wasn't his taste at all.
It's a change of pace,
he said, but come on, floral? My instincts told me he was cheating. Was he not trying to hide it, or did he think I wouldn't notice? Or was he just plain stupid? Maybe his affair partner was trying to challenge me. It was a shock, but if it was just a fling, I thought I'd pretend not to notice. However, I also needed to prepare for the worst. One day, during my monthly visit, I walked into his apartment and was stunned. The room had completely changed. There were new items I'd never seen before, like women's accessories, cooking utensils, even though he didn't cook, and women's clothes in the closet. Someone else was clearly living there. No way, I muttered, trying to deny the obvious. Was he really living with another woman while I was his wife? He knew I was coming today, right? I mean, he was the one who told me to go to the apartment first because he had to work overtime. There was no way he didn't know I was coming. Then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Daniel, but something was off. Way off.
Hey, she's coming today, so stay at your parents'.
Sorry to make you lonely. Love you. Whoops, wrong person, idiot. I said out loud. He just handed me the evidence himself. I see. Trying to get her out and spend time with me, huh? How does he think he can pull that off with all this evidence? He must be a complete moron. Just then, the door opened, and a woman I didn't know walked in. She looked like she was in her 20s, like me. I'm assuming she came here since she didn't get the text my husband had accidentally sent me. Why didn't he just tell her beforehand? I swear, he's such an idiot. But oh well, let's see what this woman is like. The woman looked stunned. Who the hell are you? And who the hell are you? This is where my husband, Daniel, lives alone, I said, and she gave a forced smile. Oh, you must be... You must be his mistress. Are you two living together? I glared at her, but she laughed. No. We do live together, but it's not like that. We're just sharing the apartment. She sat on the couch. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. I had nowhere to go, and he offered to help. Said I could stay here. How did you meet him? When did you start living here? We met at a bar about 2 weeks ago. That's a lie. I knew about the affair way before. There's no way he'd let a stranger move in after just 2 weeks. But she kept smiling, saying it was true. Like I'd believe that. I don't care if he's okay with it. I'm not. Get out. Wow, kicking out a pregnant woman, huh? Harsh. What? You're pregnant? I was about to repeat my demand when her words hit me. What did you just say? She touched her belly. It's still early, but I'm pregnant. Don't tell me the father is... Who knows? She said, smiling without denying it. At least deny it, bitch. But she just kept on smiling. My world collapsed beneath me. Don't worry, I won't get in your way. I'm just a roommate. I'll stay at a friend's place tonight, she said and left, leaving me stunned. When I came to, she was gone. Unbelievable, I muttered, collapsing onto the couch. But I quickly got up, smelling her perfume on the couch. Unbelievable! I shouted again, clenching my fists, thinking, that jerk! I waited for Daniel, fuming. He came back after a while. Man, I'm tired. Cassie, you here? Let's go out for dinner. His casual attitude irritated me. Welcome back. Can we talk? I said, hands on my hips. Oh, sure. He looked flustered. I'm tired from working on my day off, though. What's with this apartment? No explanation? Huh? He looked genuinely puzzled. Ah, this guy. I guess my husband really is a moron. There are new things. Women's clothes. You're cheating, aren't you? What are you talking about? You're clearly living with someone. We're getting a divorce. I finally said it. Divorce. I couldn't forgive a serious affair. I'm not that nice. Divorce me, I repeated, calmly this time, not wanting him to think I had said so in the heat of the moment. He stared at me, then burst into laughter. What are you talking about? Me? Cheating? Living with a woman? Don't be ridiculous. He hadn't realized he sent the wrong message or that I'd met the woman. A female colleague of mine said this would make you happy. Huh? What the hell was he talking about? He continued calmly. I thought I'd make the apartment nice and cozy since we don't see each other often. But you trampled my feelings by accusing me of cheating. You're the worst. I'm the worst? Women's clothes? Seriously? I bought them for you, thinking you'd like them. Not my style at all. Shut up. I did it for you, and you trampled my feelings. This was ridiculous. So you're not living with a woman? No, I live alone. Always have. Liar, liar, pants on fire. What about the roommate story she told me then? What a big fat lie. I can't believe this. I feel stupid for trying so hard to make this marriage work with them working away. I want a divorce. I repeated, and he smirked. Fine. I don't want to be with you either. You're the worst for doubting me while I work my butt off even on the weekend. I want nothing to do with you. Pay me alimony for emotional distress. Excuse me? Did he just say I should pay him? I'm the one who deserves to be paid. What the hell is he saying? Just leave already. I don't even want to see your face. We'll discuss divorce later. Just get out. He pushed me towards the door. I couldn't resist his strength and was pushed out. He even chained the door so I couldn't get in even with the key to the house. I decided to leave for now, but I didn't intend to end it there. I could get a lawyer for the divorce, but that wouldn't satisfy my anger. So what then? I needed to make him pay. From then on, I started my plans. During this time, he never contacted me. The mistress probably told him about bumping into me at his place. Maybe he can't contact me because he heard what had happened and now he can't be so bold. He's probably happy and relieved that I'm not doing anything to get back at him. But nope, you're not getting off that easily, honey. No way I'll let you comfortably live your single life. A month after discovering his affair and the pregnancy, I was moving into a new apartment. Alrighty, I think I'm done unpacking the boxes. Let's go greet the neighbors now, I said, opening my door. I smiled at the person next to me and rang the bell. Yes, who is it? It's Cassie, Daniel's wife. Is he in? His wife? Yeah, just a sec. I heard shuffling inside. Were they hiding something? Then the door opened abruptly. Cassie, what the hell are you doing here? What's wrong with visiting my husband's apartment? We're divorcing, so we're practically strangers. We're still married. Should we discuss the divorce now? I'm telling you, I'm not cheating, he said, blocking the woman behind him. Even though you're living with her? She's just a friend visiting. I'm not interested in her. You're trying to control me. It's annoying. That's rich coming from you, I almost said, but suppressing my anger, I smiled. Is that so? Then I'll visit daily to check. What? You will check on me daily? I'll live here and monitor your actions. What? I don't want to live with a wife who accuses me of cheating. Besides, what about your job? I've arranged it so that I can work from home. Don't worry, I'm not moving in with you. What do you mean? I moved in next door. Here's a gift, some cookies. Hope you like them. Oh, thanks. No, wait, what? You moved next door? Like, next door? His confusion was hilarious. I smiled and nodded. Yup, I got lucky. The room is available. What? Oh, and your mistress's husband moved in next door too. What? I stepped aside to reveal Ken, and the mistress screamed. No! Ken, you're supposed to be overseas. I came back early, Kim. He interrupted her from behind me as she turned pale. Why are you here? You're not supposed to be back for another 3 years. I asked my company to let me return earlier, so I moved next door. Looks like we'll be neighbors from now on. Ken smiled as Kim, my husband's mistress, turned pale. Wow, what a coincidence, huh? Kim's here and her husband's moving in. What are the chances? I said sarcastically, and Daniel turned pale too. Looking forward to living next to you. I'll be watching closely, like a surveillance camera. I said with a cold smile, and my husband was speechless. So Kim, since you're not living with him, maybe you should leave now? But... Leave, Daniel barked, and she looked shocked. But yeah, Ken, since you're back, let's live together. We're married after all. Nope. What do you mean? What happened to our apartment? I've been sending you money every month for the apartment and living expenses. It was more than enough. I like that place, so I was thinking about living there after coming back. Well, She was sweating like crazy. Well, we actually already know that she had sold the apartment long ago and now lives here with my husband. I turned to my husband and said, I'll be watching your every move from now on. But don't worry, you're busy and you live alone, right? I mean, you're so innocent that you can even claim alimony from me. Well, And there's no way Kim is pregnant with your kid, right? Because it's so strange. My eyes were narrow as I glared at him, but I also had a smirk on my face. My husband started sweating profusely, probably scared of me. But I didn't care and continued. Ken hasn't been back home for almost a year. And Kim hasn't seen him because she hates flying, and yet she's pregnant. How is that even possible? Don't ask me. Right, you wouldn't know, would you? Well, shall we ask your friend to leave now? You're kicking out a pregnant woman? But she doesn't live here, remember? So that means she has her own house somewhere. So she just needs to go home, right, Kim? She was pale as a ghost. By the way, Kim, I had a detective investigate everything for the divorce. Okay. That's right. I'm with Ken now because I had hired a detective to investigate Daniel. Initially, I wanted proof of his affair, but I never expected her to be married. I was shocked when I found out. When I learned that her husband was overseas and discovered where he worked, I contacted him through his company. But due to privacy issues, it took a while to reach him. But once I did, everything went smoothly. I showed Ken the evidence and he returned home quickly. He was shocked not only by the affair, but also by her pregnancy. He was initially down, but like me, he became angry, and that's when I proposed my plan. Both partners living next door would be unbearable. Even if the divorce went through, my husband wouldn't want to stay in that apartment.
What do you mean? Investigation?
Kim asked nervously, so I pulled out several photos. Here, look. You have a lot of male friends, don't you?
What?
The photos showed her entering and leaving hotels with various men.
Oh my gosh! What are these? When did you take them?
She tried to snatch them back, but I handed them to my husband. He looked at them and turned pale again.
What is this? Were you cheating, Kim?
No, Daniel! It's not like that!
What do you mean? Is the baby even mine?
It's yours!
Alrighty, got it all recorded. They're not even trying to hide their affair now. In fact, I think they forgot we're here.
Thank goodness. Oh, whoops.
He remembered I was there. With a pale face, he looked at me. Don't worry, Daniel. I recorded everything, I said, smiling.
That's not comforting at all.
He panicked. As Ken said, we're getting a divorce. Kim decided to come clean.
Fine. I stayed married for the money, but now I'll be with Daniel.
Daniel agreed.
Yeah, I'm done with you, Cassie. I'll pay whatever alimony. Let's get divorced.
Why, thank you.
He said he'd pay, so I'd make sure he did. Pay alimony to both Ken and me, okay?
Why Ken?
He has the right to demand alimony too.
Seriously?
Wow, some people actually don't know that. He thought he could handle just me. Well, too bad. Daniel, we're demanding alimony from both you and Kim. Our lawyers will contact you, so you better show up for the divorce hearing. He slumped. Kim was shocked too.
Why me?
She asked, confused. Why wouldn't she be liable for alimony?
Are you crazy? I'm pregnant. The baby is innocent.
Make sure to clear your name and be a good mother, I replied, and she was speechless. By the way, get a DNA test after the baby's born, I added.
What?
She's been with a lot of men. Check if it's really yours, I said, making him go silent. Ken and I left them and returned to our new apartments. Later, our divorce was finalized. Living next door stressed Daniel out. We didn't stalk them, we just lived there. The surveillance thing was a joke. I don't have that much free time. But he hated having me next door and Kim's husband on the other side. Because of this, the divorce went smoothly and I returned to my old place. My company knew about the situation, so working from home was manageable for a short period. Kim and Ken's divorce also finalized. Both paid alimony in lump sums, with my ex covering for Kim. His salary was good, but he was naive. So naive. I complained to his company with teary eyes about their lax management. I wish you could have seen my award-winning performance. Because the affair led to a divorce, it became a big issue, and the company also blamed my ex-husband for misconduct. As a result, this led to his demotion instead of a promotion. His salary tanked, and he ended up living in poverty, constantly fighting with Kim. Then one day, he called me.
Cassie, listen, the baby was born.
Oh, really? I said, not caring.
I secretly did a test since Kim refused. The results came back and it's not mine.
Oh, okay. And?
Let's get back together and have kids.
Are you out of your mind? Who
Who in their right mind would want a kid with him? I hung up and blocked him. I better change my number tomorrow. Later, Ken told me that Daniel and Kim eventually broke up after many fights. Daniel got fired after slacking off, and he's now living in a shabby apartment. Kim went back to her parents, but got kicked out, and her parents are raising the baby. The baby is innocent. I hope they have a happy life. I didn't care about Kim's whereabouts when Ken told me she disappeared. Meanwhile, Ken is doing well overseas. He's moved on from this mess. I need to follow his example. If I meet someone new, I'll be more careful next time. Love will see us through, even when we're apart. I hope to meet someone like that someday.